Hello, everyone. Welcome to Roots and Branches, our 20-minute masterclass series here on Bloom TV, our YouTube channel supporting our collective and community of Journey to Bloom. So today we are here to introduce our autumn speaker series, Navigating Transitions. And this is Navigating Transitions in Senior Living from Family, the Beginning, and Beyond. This speaker series is sponsored by the Cottage at Litchfield Hills, which is in Torrington, Connecticut, an assisted living and memory care community. And yes, I just happen to be the director of community relations there. So that means, sales and marketing, but really relationships. So I would be the first person that you would see when you come to visit the cottage, just like my cohorts in the other communities that are around. So with that being said, there's a whole process that starts before you even look at me, call me, and it starts with the family, the conversation. So Navigating Transition Speaker Series takes us again from the conversations that are tough to have all the way to the move. So we begin today with our first segment with our beautiful dear friend, Susie Sarkisian. Susie is Susie Sarkisian Coaching. She is a masterful human being that creates beautiful, safe spaces for families with siblings, parents to just kind of feel safe and say, okay, I need some advice on how to talk to my parents. Right, Susie, is that a fair introduction to you?
Yeah. My practice is really around supporting the family members of the aging. At your job, you're supporting the aging people. I'm supporting the family members of the aging people.
Yeah. Yeah, the
It doesn't have,
community support, the community like the cottage at Litchfield Hills and its surrounding regions definitely is the residents. The residents are our
mhm,
people, your
mhm,
parents, loved
mhm.
ones. My job happens to be in line with you because, I'm not a caregiver. I am a hand holder, take you for a walk through the journey initially, and then they go into the hands of our wonderful, nurses and support system and healthcare. But again, like I said, this whole thing begins sometimes years before they ever get to me. Okay, in the
Right,
community itself.
right.
Um, so starting with that, you're going to share with us some ideas and some tips and some scenarios of I can use personal story. I'm the eldest of three with two aging parents, with aging parents, and we had a little bit of a journey this year. And I have two younger brothers, and you know what? I'm kind of blessed. We really like each other, so we have a little bit of an easier time than some others. It doesn't mean it's not hard. And I have to say, as a family, all three of us have, the three separate personalities of what Susie would ever be dealing with. Right. But that's kind of where you step in, right?
Right, right. So what I'm gonna do, can I go ahead and jump in? Yeah. So I'm gonna share my screen, and what I'm gonna talk to you today about is, having hard conversations. And, let's just say we're talking about parents and children. The bottom line is most parents don't want their children, even if that means you're 60 years old, to tell them what to do. So as a parent, I don't want my children telling me what to do. My mother, who's 91, doesn't want me telling her what to do. So the most critical thing to think about when approaching these hard conversations, if you're the one starting it, is that you're not telling them what to do. We need to take that mindset away. It's not about you need to do this. You must stop driving. It's not a you. So we have to start with the ground rule of it's not telling what to do.
That's where the resistance steps in, right?
Right,
The whole forget it, you know,
right,
forget it, let's talk about something else.
right. So um, here's what the I'm calling this navigating. You can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Navigating the conversation with aging family members. It could be parents, it could be an aunt and uncle, it could be a grandmother, it could be your spouse. It's not always children to parents, it could be, sister to brother, but it's about how to have the conversation. And um, the communicating works best with these three factors: curiosity, empathy, and collaboration. So let me see if I can make my little screen.
Having that empathy, the empathy is a big one.
It is. It is.
There's communication, there's collaboration, which, are even two of the C's of Journey to Bloom, that those are some of the most important things you can just have in general in humanity. But that empathy is tough when maybe you have such a resistant parent, or the relationship wasn't always a beautiful relationship, or it was a beautiful relationship. There's so many different scenarios that fall into these conversations.
Right. So first of all, why is it important to have these conversations? Well, first of all, watching someone change with age can be brutal. I had a woman on a support group just last night, and her father ran 32 Ironman competitions. She's out in California, and he now um, he now is in a wheelchair. And watching him go from that to this just stops her in her tracks. So it's hard to watch someone change with age. So the need to talk about the future, it might seem obvious, like, oh my gosh, I need to know what my parents are thinking. I need to know what they would like to, where they would like to be or where they would not like to be. But breaking the ice and maybe breaking some roles that were in your family can sometimes be harder. So if you grew up in a household where things aren't talked about, okay, no judgment here. That happens. People grow up in households where the parents don't talk about finances, or people don't talk about certain things. So for an adult child, which I wish there was a better word for that.
I was just going to say, we are the adult children, being the adults in the room, though.
I don't like adult child. That's weird. But for the 60-year-old, let's just say that for the 60-year-old to have to say to their parent, hey, mom, what are you thinking about such and such down the road? That can be a really hard thing because there's a bit of a role reversal that happens, right? So while the need to talk about the future may be obvious, but breaking the ice can be harder. And this is where the empathy, patience, and kindness come in. But silence is not the answer. I was just coaching two sisters who say, we have no idea about anything about our parents. We don't know if they have a will. We don't know if they have a power of attorney. We don't know what banks they go to. We don't know what doctors they see. And their parents live in the same house as one of the daughters. The parents are in the apartment below the daughter. My point being, them not knowing if an ambulance were to come to the house for whatever reason, and the ambulance driver were to ask questions about their parents, who's their healthcare proxy, who's these daughters say they don't know. They don't know any of it. So my point being here that silence is not the answer.
Just to that point, that is one of the first questions that I would ask when I have a family that calls, or the family that's representing. Are you the power of attorney? Does your dad have a power of attorney? Do you have a healthcare proxy? Well, what's that? So
Right.
there's all of these things and that's this navigating transition speaker series is all about, bringing these tools, these questions up, and
Getting these
prepare.
conversations
Yeah.
out in the open. So
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds simple to say as the community relations person, say, who's the healthcare proxy? But what we have to appreciate is that in every household and in every family dynamic, that, these conversations may not be comfortable. They may be, a parent may see that as someone challenging their abilities. They are elephants in rooms. That's what they are. They're elephants in rooms. So what I want to do is walk you through very basic. If you leave today with nothing else, some very simple steps. If you are in the situation like the two daughters that I just talked about, who know nothing about their parents' paperwork or anything, and if you feel like it's time to start having these conversations, it's time to start talking about this, we've got to break old patterns. The number one step is to ask permission to have a conversation, meaning don't surprise someone. Don't just walk in and go, hey, mom, we're going to talk about your will. Don't make this a surprise. Ask permission. Mom, can we sit down to talk about something that's on my mind? So
Right.
by asking permission, you're engaging them. You're setting up a time. It's not just a quick chat in the driveway. It's, hey, can we talk about something that's bothering me? So again, it's not a finger pointing. Can we talk about something that's bothering me? Number two is starting with love. So, excuse me. So if it's, hey, mom, I'd love to sit down and talk about something that's bothering me. Can we meet? Can we talk tonight at 5 o'clock, whatever? And when that time comes, maybe you've poured your cups of coffee or decaf because it's 5 o'clock and you're sitting down to talk. If you're stumped, start with love. Just start with
Mm-hmm.
love. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
mom, just want you to know I love you. If you're the kind of family that's grown up saying that, starting with love takes away defensiveness.
I love that you said that. I don't mean to say it, but if you're that type of family, because these sometimes we have these idyllic situations, and there might be somebody watching this today going, I think my
We
father
don't
would
say it.
rather, my father would rather have bourbon on that table, or just whatever.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
it's the
But
dynamic. Your family.
right. So whether it's hey mom, I love you, or I love this family, if you're not I love you, you can say, hey, I love this family, and hey, we've had a great childhood, whatever. Starting with something that's positive and affirming. Next one is name it as hard. So to back it up, mom, can we have a conversation? You're sitting down to have it. Hey, I really love the way you raised our family and how you did blah, 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 blah. And I, I'm having a hard time doing this, but I think we need to talk about some things that are going to be hard to talk about. So name it as hard. So then it's not a surprise. Again, it's not a blind side. We're talking about something that's hard. And then curiosity. Remember in the beginning, I said that, empathy and curiosity and collaboration. So curiosity is really, really one of the secret weapons of being a certified professional coach is curiosity. So if we're talking about car keys or something like that, and the topic comes up, rather than saying you have to do this or I'm telling you to do that, stop. Whenever you're in doubt, stop and go, how does this feel to you? What is this like for you? So asking questions, and when you get an answer, you don't have to solve it. Ask the questions. What are you thinking? How is this landing? And whatever the answer is, you say, you can just repeat it back. Oh, it sounds like you're bossing me around. Oh, it feels like I'm bossing you around. Okay. But you're asking questions so that that person is engaged. And this is the collaboration part, is be gentle and be on their team. And I'm going to get into that more when I get into my the examples that I have. But understanding where someone's coming from and validating it and saying, you know what, I get it. I don't think I would like this either. Rather than, mom, you have to move. Mom, you have to do this. rather than saying you have to do this, it's, the doctor said you must. If you say, I understand you raised us in this house, of course you don't want to leave. So that's the being gentle and validating and getting on their team. So these are the steps that I preach with having the hard conversation. Permission, love, name it as hard, ask questions, and be on their team. So I'm going to take you through 3 different scenarios. So scenario number 1, it's time to get some help, right? So this could be getting help in the home. It could be getting help with an outside agency. It could be getting help to move somewhere. It could be, it could look like a lot of things, but usually a senior
Companionship, groceries, anything.
companionship, right? It could be getting help with the finances. It could be whatever. So with scenario number 1, and it's time to get help, you as the person who can see that so clearly can ask these types of questions. So the say scenario number 1, mom is living at home and doing an okay job, but you've noticed some things are starting to slip. So rather than going in with the accusations, starting with a question of, hey, dad, what's the hardest part of managing life at home these days? Which part of this is getting really
Such a sincere, question. Like,
it's curious.
Opens the door, right? It opens the door to conversation. Yeah.
What part of this is really getting to be hard? Oh, cutting the grass. Oh, I used to be so good at cutting the grass, and now that's just become, I can't pull the lawnmower thing, or something like that. Or sometimes I'm losing track of the bills. So asking that question, what's the hardest part of managing life at home for you? And listening to that answer. When you get the answer, though, dig into it more. Okay.
Yeah.
Another potential. Okay, so let's just say it's dad has said the hardest part is that the laundry is in the basement and he's not comfortable going down the stairs with a basket of laundry and coming back up the stairs with a basket of laundry. And now the laundry's starting to pile up. So things that used to be so common are now being a challenge.
Daily routine. That's how it happens. The daily routine starts to collapse,
Right.
Yeah.
So then if it's okay, so your dad has now said that getting the laundry and housework done is the hardest part of being home. Then you're sort of offering some solutions. You're not telling me he has to, but would you like to try having someone help with this for a few weeks? So again, it's not a permanent thing. I'm not taking away your rights. I'm not saying you're incapable.
It's also putting the ball in their court. It's putting the ball in their court and having them be a part of that decision.
Right. Yeah. So by asking what the hardest part is and then offering potential solutions, hey, I happen to know someone who's looking for some work, who has helped with people, and then validating their answers. So if you say, can we try it for a few weeks? You know what, Dad? If you hate it, then we'll stop. So it's not, this is the gentle, this is the not a push. But when they say, you know what, I'm really not comfortable having someone else in the home, validating that answer would be, I understand. I understand. You've always been very proud. And I understand that you're not comfortable having someone else in your home. How can we make this work? So would you like for me to be there when the person is helping with house cleaning? You can offer solutions to say, how can we get it to a point that we try this for a few weeks? Because Dad, if you were to fall down those basement stairs, I would never forgive myself. So
nothing wrong with a little sprinkle of guilt, Susie.
Well, mean, but that's the truth. He's already said that the hardest part, so you're starting with finding the hardest part and where the help is needed. What's the hardest part of driving to the grocery store? Well, so then bringing in some potential solutions, collaborating, getting them to say, let's try this. Do you want me to be there the first day? And validating their answers about why they resist.
Maybe
Understand why
yeah,
someone's resisting.
exactly, and understand it exactly. And the other thing, flip to this coin too, if I may, is that this also for the family takes pressure off of them of being the one to do it all, right? Does
Right,
that make
right,
sense?
right,
Kind of it puts an equilibrium into the relationship. It's not me going, okay, don't worry, mom, I'll do it. Don't worry, dad, I'll take care of it. I'll mow the lawn. I'll do this for you.
right.
It's actually a beautiful like balance
Well,
of
and but the trick in this one in scenario number one is by starting with the question of asking what's the hardest part, because they've named it, and then you're trying to help them to come to a solution for it.
not just saying I'll do it for you. Right. They're
Right,
actually making their
right.
decisions. Yeah, love that. Hmm.
Okay. Oh, then it is important to also remind that this is about keeping you independent. I'm not trying to take away things. I'm trying to keep you where you want to be as long as you can.
Beautiful.
Scenario number two. Oops, I didn't put these. I thought I had them showing up one at a time. Sorry about that. Scenario number two is the we're all in the dark. And you heard me mention that, the two daughters that I'm coaching right now who don't know anything about what's going on with their parents. And
Been
um,
there.
yeah,
Most of
yeah,
us have.
yeah. Well, actually, another scenario that just happened for me, I think it was yesterday. I had a gentleman who um, he had he and his sister had just gone to a funeral,
Mhm.
and then that same day they were going to a 90th birthday party. So these two
Mm.
external examples were the way that they were going to approach their parents. They were going to say, hey, mom and dad, we just went to the funeral for our old neighbor so and so, and we realized that we don't know these things that are your wishes. We don't know what you would like. So they were going to use, at the end of our coaching call, they were going to use the funeral, the external example of the funeral they had just attended, and the great Aunt Betty's 91st birthday
Those
party,
seeds. Hmm.
right? So these were the external examples. So it wasn't as though the children were just trying to pry into their parents' business, but they were able to say, hey, mom and dad, we're thinking of, we talked to the people, the daughters of these people, and we realized that we need to know. Um, another potential perspective in the we're all in the dark thing is saying, you know what, is take ownership. So rather than blaming your parents for keeping you in the dark, just
Hmm.
say, I've been avoiding talking about this because I hate to think of a future without you, for example. But to take the ownership so the parent doesn't feel like they've done something wrong, or the spouse, sorry, the parent, the spouse, the family member, is to say, I should have talked to you about this sooner. And this is my bad. And um, reframe it as I am not trying to control anything. I just want to make sure that I can do exactly what it is you want me to do. So framing it that I'm trying to honor your wishes, but if I don't know your wishes, I'm just guessing. So if I don't know that you have said you never want to live in Kentucky and something happens and I need to send you to Kentucky, if I don't know you don't want that, then I'm not honoring your wishes. So getting everyone out from being in the dark. Um, you can use external examples as a way to start the conversation. You can say, I should have done this before. This is totally on me. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing what you want. I'm not trying to control. So
Perfect.
that's like the scenario number two.
Mhm. And we'll
Um,
quickly go through scenario number three just to get to this
yeah,
to
yeah,
the,
yeah. And the
this
last
beautiful.
one is, sort of the living at home isn't working anymore. And when you've got parents who say, I'm staying in this house over my dead body, I'm never leaving. I want to stay in this house. Start with validating. So this is the empathy, right? So say, I get it. Of course you do. You built this house. You put that swing set in the backyard. You planted those tulips. So start with validating their feelings. And you can say, I would feel the same way, mom. I would feel the same way. So very often adult children will say, look how beautiful this place is. It's like a cruise ship. I want to go live there. The reality is that that's not going to sell someone. Saying to them, this is hard. I wish we weren't in this scenario. I know you don't want to leave the house because this is the neighborhood you raised us. So that's the number two, join them. I wish things weren't like this. I wish that you didn't have to use a walker in a two-story house, but you do. I'm sorry. But also ask them questions. What is stopping you? What are you afraid of? And someone might say, well, I'm afraid they're just going to walk into my room and not knock on the door. I'm afraid that they're going to
Yeah,
they're
all
going to
valid.
sneak in my room when I'm not there. I'm afraid that the food's going to be bad. So ask questions to help someone figure out what's stopping them from
Mhm.
trying.
I mean, it's all fear-based when it comes to this particular scenario and most of the scenarios that you were discussing. I mean, of course, it is scary to transition. It is scary to completely change. We're not there yet, but we will be. And that's kind of this premise of this whole speaker series is for us to get information too, so that we're better when we are there in that, in that those scenarios. So, understanding this is a progression, and
Mhm.
it's not going to go away, and really meeting our parents where they are. My scenario is like number three, and it's okay. We all have our stories, they're very embedded in their home, and it's okay, you know, having all of these beautiful conversations that I've had. So I will share that, going through this past year in my scenario, Susie, actually, I worked with Susie, for a little bit. She was um incredible. You can do something, it's the shoemaker's kids don't have shoes, right? That thing, so you can be doing something for a living, or have a career pivot, but when it comes to owning and being in it, you become a child. So that's
Mhm.
why we can say adult children kind of makes
Mhm.
sense, right, Susie? Because
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
there's a certain aspect. You are always your parents' kid. I don't care how my will always be afraid of my dad when he looks at me through sunglasses in a rearview mirror. I'll always be like,
Mhm.
and those are just the funny memories, but they're the truth, right? And
Right.
trying to spin that chair around and have that conversation, it takes
Yeah.
it's yeah, and
So
there's
approaching, I mean, yeah, I mean, approach is so important. Um, you know, in summary, I mean, this really isn't about telling someone what to do. And, one of my least favorite words people ever say is the word put. When they say, I put my parents somewhere, let's just take that out of vocabulary. But this isn't about telling someone what to do. It's about listening and then looking ahead together. So, hey, mom, let's talk about, and anything that starts with let's is much better, right? Let's talk about
comes together.
what's down the road. Let's
Mhm.
talk about 2026. Let's talk about this upcoming winter. Let's talk about what your worries are. Let's talk about how you would like to see this play out. So, having these conversations is not easy, but it's important. And it's so much better than it can take relationships to a whole new place once we've accepted that this is a part of what happens.
And it really does. That it really does in a lot of cases, in most cases, that I've seen and experienced and that I've seen over the past years is it does take families to a new level, and it's not reducing your parents. And, it's coming together. And I love that.
I just did this, well, not just, but I did this with my own mother. When her sister died at 90,
Mm.
I said, you know what, Mom? Clear your schedule. I was down in North Carolina. I said, we need to go through every single piece of your paperwork and I need to know where every single thing is. I thought my brother had it. He thought I knew it, da 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 da. And we spent hours and I got passwords and I got all of these things and got access to stuff. And I'm so much more at peace having had these conversations. And she's at peace knowing that I know these things and I have it in writing. And it wasn't easy because she's my mom, but it was more about being supportive and listening than me telling her what to do.
Agreed. And in again, so many of us 50 and over, even 45, depending, when your parents had you, however you play out in the sibling, I do, of course, I just had a really briefly, I'll say a quick conversation with one of my dear friends, and her mom they got divorced later in life. Her parents, she moved down to the Carolinas, and I said, mom's 84, 85, still rocking, but is there a POA? I just went through that and she just said, what? And she's a government worker, sorry, she's listening, so it doesn't matter. You just don't always think of these things because most of us are programmed to just react. So
Right.
being proactive is incredibly important in this situation. So Susie,
Yeah.
wrapping this up, my dear
Yeah.
friend, um, I want to say, you touched on this amazingness. You touched the very tip of this, like itty bitty with your steps. And I want to say to our people who are watching and that Susie is at susiesarkisiancoaching.com. I will have links. We have a flyer for this. Um,
Yeah. Actually, it's just my name. It's susiesarkisian.com. But I
oh,
do offer
sorry.
anyone. That's okay. I call it navigating aging and families, but anyone who is struggling and just trying to go, whoa, I need a sounding board. How do I figure this out? I offer a free half hour, no obligations. So anyone can go to my website, have a free half hour confidential coaching, just to see if we're a fit.
It's priceless. It's a priceless half
Yeah,
hour. Mhm.
yeah. So that it's just susiesarkisian.com. It's a brutal name, but
I think I messed that with your email. Yes. Okay. My bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
okay.
good brander here.
Yeah,
Susie, thank you.
you're
Thank you so
welcome.
very much. So folks, again, we have our Navigating Transitions speaker series. It is sponsored by the Cottage at Litchfield Hills, but there are many assisted living memory care communities out there near you, around you. But it begins with the conversation.
Mhm.
So come see me, come see somebody that's in my, and start with Susie. She will that half hour will be priceless information. So thanks
All right.
again,
Thank
Susie.
you. All right.
All right,
Take care.
everybody, and you take care. Talk to you
Bye.
soon, and always stay blooming.
Bye.